Hey, what is going on guys, Tech Enthusiast here, and I have a very interesting video for you today. This is a PlayStation 2 emulator called DamonPS2 Pro, which was released about 2 weeks ago. Now they claim to have some games running at very reasonable speeds, which you can see here. The emulator is in its very early stages of development, and they have also promised to bring some updates and features, which you can read in the Play Store description. Okay, so let's dive into the emulator. So here are some of the popular games from the PS2. I will start off with Resident Evil 4. Like the original, you have the PS2 BIOS, which is then followed by the PlayStation logo. I'm just going to speed up the video here. So as you can see, it is playing the cutscene here. I will skip that and get into the game. So I just need it to finish loading it up. And we are in. On the top left you can see the frames per second that it is running at. And I'm pretty sure it's not 60 FPS. As you can tell, it's running slightly slow. At the bottom left of the screen there is a description of the device which is being used, the Android version, the title ID of the game, and the region of the game. I'm not going to play this game too long. I'm just going to pop into this house and greet the neighbor. Although it is not at full speed, it is still playable. Here is another cutscene. If you pay close attention, you can notice that the audio and video are out of sync.
Excuse me, sir?
Now before going into other games, I'm just going to pop into settings. Under graphics, I'll leave the FPS counter on, disable the device information, and change the aspect ratio to full screen so we can enjoy games in its full screen glory. Now under controls, I'll disable the on-screen touch controls as I'm using a GameSir G3S control pad, which you can see in my channel, which I've reviewed earlier. Skip the BIOS so we don't need to see the startup animation. As you can see, it skipped the BIOS animation. Once again, I'll speed up the video here. I thought the game had autosave, but that was not the case. It's not under the memory card 1 or 2. One of the highlights of this emulator is that it includes Savestates. So to bring that menu up, you will have to press the back button, and here it is, press load state. This game is running slower than Resident Evil 4. It's saying that it's about 30 FPS. Now I haven't played this game for a lengthy time, so I don't know if it will slow down further when you approach enemies, or even if it will crash. Okay, so I'm just going to move on to the next game, which is Okami. Now for this game, I do happen to have a in-game save. I'm about 60 minutes into the game, so let's let it load up. As you can see, it is running really smoothly. Now having said that, in the beginning of the game it was slower when it went through the storyline and some of the cutscenes. The frames did take a dive, but in the actual gameplay, as you can see here, it is running very well, and I'm very impressed at how well it's running so far. And I'm not seeing any graphical bugs either at the moment. I'll just play it a bit more longer before moving on to the next game. Here is Marvel vs. Capcom 2. This was one of my favorite games that I used to play back in the days, especially on the Dreamcast. Having said that, there is a Dreamcast emulator available for Android and it runs quite well. I'm gonna go all Capcom characters here. Now if I'm not mistaken, once you have unlocked all the characters, you can choose from about 56. So again, it's showing that it's running at 60 frames per second, and that is not the case. As I can tell, it is slightly laggy. Now we have Dragon Ball Z Tenkaichi 3. I think I pronounced that right. Now that the save game has been created, we can quickly get into the game.
This is where you can experience most.
Hey, I'm Goku. Experience some fight in many. All right, choose the scenario. Fight in many.
I did cut out the loading of the game, but I did notice some graphical glitches where the in-game screen seemed to have multiplied a few times. You'll know what I'm talking about if you do load up this game. Out of the games that I have tested so far, this runs the slowest. The speed does dip under 20 FPS, which for me is unplayable, as you really can't pull off any special moves. So I'm not going to play this game too long.
I thought you'd be smarter than this. It's disappointing that you're so foolish.
So that is the end of this test run. I have to say I'm really impressed at how well it is working with its second update at the time of recording. One thing to note is that you will need to have a powerful device to run most games, such as the Snapdragon 835. I haven't tested it on the Shield TV, it may run better, I'm not sure. The emulator is definitely not cheap. It costs £9, which is about $12. There seems to be some controversy surrounding this emulator, as apparently the developers have taken code from other emulators, namely PPSSPP and PCSX2. So we'll have to see how that unfolds. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, then please hit that like button. If it's your first time here, then please consider subscribing to see more content. Do follow me on Twitter, and I will catch you in the next video.
Vegeta, what's wrong with you? Tell me what his power level is. It's over 9,000! What? 9,000? You gotta be kidding me!